And so we started writing
podcast.
specific grants for that population. And we just won our most recent Youth Build grant. And we have a media pathway. It's a $1.5 million grant for 3 years.
Get some more air horns for that real quick. They doing big things. Yes, sir.
We just got awarded in June of this year. And part of our pathways are in order to help young people get into the media pathway and to specifically get into podcasting. And my board probably is like, I thought we were a construction nonprofit.
Yeah.
Now we're doing all this other stuff. But this has allowed us, because what I saw, a trend happening, over the years, we were losing our African American youth, and we were only seeing Latino Americans coming in our doors. Year after year, the numbers just kept decreasing on African American youth. And I just could not continue to allow that to happen. Let me just give it a try. I know nothing about grant writing, but I have an English background. And so I said, okay, let me just try it out. So 2016, I wrote a grant. We did not win. 2017, I wrote a grant. We did not win.
Kept it going.
2018, we won 2 grants, $1.5 million each.
Woo.
Since 2018, there's not been a year that we have not won at least $2 million in grants.
Building a legacy, so watch how you study me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chilling, man. Building a legacy, so watch how you study me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chilling, man.
Yo, what's good? It's Sir Gates. You're now tuned in here to the podcast again. Thank y'all for coming back week after week, tuning into the pod. Make sure y'all follow this pod on YouTube at In Here the Podcast and IG In Here the Podcast. That's NHERITD Podcast. And yet today we have another special guest in the building, all the way from Los Angeles, man. Miss Mary Taylor, the executive director of PV Jobs nonprofit agency in LA. So how you doing?
I'm doing so good. Excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Hospitality you guys have shown me.
Thank you.
Thank you to your producer, to you, like a whole fam. Just excited to be here.
You know y'all family out here, man.
So excited to be here.
And then real quick, shout out to the whole Reentry Network podcast, the Reentry Network team, Sensei Kai, my boy Kai, everybody out there in LA, man, doing their thing. Make sure y'all tune into their pod. But let's get right into the show, right? So how I start my shows off, I like to do an icebreaker. I'm gonna ask you a question, right? So ladies first, you'll go first, but we both gonna answer it. And it's nothing too crazy, a nice little thought question, to get the mind going. So
I'm nervous already.
No, it ain't gonna be that bad. I promise you. So look, so today's question is, right? Would you rather pick a path of unshakable self-confidence or one of unwavering adaptability?
Unshakable self-confidence or
one
unwavering adaptability. I'm going to take
Let's see if we go on the same
self-confidence.
And why so? Why
all
you say that?
day. Because if you believe in yourself, nothing else matters. Adaptability, you will be switching sides, straddling the fence all day. That's going to confuse me and have me stressed out.
Yeah.
I'd rather just believe what I say is right, which is what I believe every day.
I feel you.
So I'm going to go with that one.
Okay.
Even if I'm not right, if I make a decision, I know that decision came from some type of strategy that I had in my head to make that decision. I don't just make decisions on the fly.
Yeah.
So any decision that I make, I always feel confident in standing by because I knew there was a process that went through me making that decision.
I like that.
I'm going to go with unwavering confidence.
Okay.
Yes.
So my answer is I went with the adaptability only because my thought process was so say if you're thrown into any situation, right? Some situations you may not be confident in, but if you can adapt to it, you get the job done. And or say if I step into a room of a room full of pilots who flies planes, I can step in that room with so much confidence and just yap. But this is unconfident on me, what I'm talking about,
right.
In those areas. But they kind of go hand in hand. It was a tough question.
Situation.
Yeah, situational.
It's situational base. So I just went with the situation where I would be confident, and I would rather go with the confidence versus the adaptability, even though as a person, I am very adaptable. I feel like I can adapt to very different environments and be able to figure out what my role is in that environment.
Yeah.
But if I'm not in that environment coming from a stance of confidence,
Maybe
then
harder.
my contribution is not going to be as much.
Makes
so
sense.
that's why I said I'm going to lean on the side of confidence first, and then later on adaptability.
Yeah. All right, so that makes sense. So like I said, both of those answers were good answers. And like I said,
No
it's a
bad
real deal
answer.
kind of situation kind of thing. But so let's get right into it, right? So Mary Taylor, right? So I want you to like I tell people all the time, I still believe that our past, our history, our traumas, our triumphs, whatever we may have went through from birth to this day right now, it shaped us and formed us, our mindset, spiritually, mentally, physically, to who we are today, right? So I feel as if we can just tell that testimony and get those stories out. Somebody who may be listening, who may be watching, may can hear this and just say, hey, I want to do what she's doing, or just give them the confidence and the boost to get up and just go do something to bring value, right? So just take us back to young Mary, right? Childhood, growing up, family, the household, and just tell us what those times were like for you and growing up. You could just probably just cap it at around post-college time around there if, when you attended. So just let it.
Post-college or pre-college? Post-college.
Yeah. So
So that's not young Mary. Post-college is Mary at
well, that's where it's at.
something.
That's still cool then.
But I got to give you a little pre-college so that you know a little bit about like my background, because my background I think really has shaped who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
So I am born and raised South LA, third generation LA, Los Angeles. So there's not a lot of people, number one, who can say they're third generation Los Angelinos. And I come from 57th and Normandy. My dad came from Michigan and migrated to LA and decided to plant seeds right there on 57th and Normandy. And he met my mom, who had already been in LA, like born and raised in LA. Her mom was born and raised in LA.
LA love story.
LA love story. LA love story. And he was an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, he was a trucking company owner. So he owned several trucks that like worked for the city and were dump trucks that paved the city in LA. And we literally had a house, and then next to our house was all of the yard where he stored all his trucks.
Dead grass. And
Literally
on
a residential street before they banned city trucks being on residential streets. This is like way back in the 70s. And so I'm born in 1978. So I'm a lot older than a lot of people would assume that I am. Like I'm 46 right now. So born and raised South LA. My dad was an entrepreneur. My mom is a retired special education LAUSD teacher. So I had education and entrepreneurship guiding me. As a youngster, my whole thing was, hey, you're going to work for the family business. You're going to get up early. You're going to make these calls to get these trucks out on all these different jobs. Sounds fun, but it's like, hey, you get up at 6 a.m. and start making calls. And we don't want your sleepy voice. We want your, good morning, this is Mary Taylor calling from Ted Taylor Trucking Company.
Oh, you still know the routine.
Oh, trust me, I got the whole spiel.
Yeah.
But the great thing about my parents, they compensated me for it. They paid me for it. So as a young person, I was making money. I always knew that what I could bring to the table would benefit me. So as a young person, I was born and raised in the heart of South LA, around the corner from the Slauson swap meet. High poverty, high crime. There were drive-by shootings on my street. But my dad had been there for so long that he had created a family within all of the neighbors. And my mom, love her to death, but she does not cook. I cannot cook to this day. Like I got maybe 5 meals that I can cook.
What's your top 3?
Tacos, steak, and ham.
Okay.
And ham is only on special occasions.
Thanksgiving only?
Yeah, Thanksgiving only. So the neighbors used to bring my dad food because they knew my mom couldn't cook. And he used to reward them because he had so much money coming in, because he was literally a millionaire in the 70s.
Jeez.
A black male millionaire in the 70s.
Shouts out to Pops, man.
Shout out to Pops. Like, love him to death. He passed away when I was 16 from a stroke, like the night before my prom. Talk about that a little bit. But yes, like he was the neighborhood hero. Like he employed everybody. He made sure that everybody was taken care of. Barbecues, potlucks. He paid for everything. So I grew up in an environment that was always philanthropic, helping others. I saw that every day. He was the first Black Lions Club president for the Los Angeles chapter. It was all white people and Asians. And he was the first Black person in the 1980s to be a Black president. So, and I used to have to go to all these meetings with them. And so for me growing up, I had a very unique experience because I was born and raised in South LA, but I never went to a public school.
Why so? It was about my parents.
My mom was an educator.
Okay.
And she said, you're not going to any public
school.
Them
public schools are hitting on.
No public school. So my whole life, I always went to Catholic schools, private schools. And I was so mad at my mom. Like, why can't I just go to the neighborhood school with all my friends?
No, so majority of your friends weren't.
All of them. All of them. Until I started making friends at the other schools. But born and raised, South LA, used to have to drive hours to school, hours back. To not be a part of the environment. But what I found was like my way to connect. I was a tomboy at that time. So I used to hang out with all the boys on the block. My mom said, you got to stop hanging out with boys. Please hang out with one girl a month. Like she gave me a task. One time a month, you have to go out with some girls.
Okay, mom, do this.
And I said, okay, fine, I will. But I had 3 boys on the block that we would just be tough. Them 3 and me. Dion, Damon, and Derek.
Oh, yeah, you still know.
3 Ds.
Tell me you was out there fighting, Mary.
3 Ds. We weren't fighting. I don't know. I think it was like a prelude to what I do now. Because my mom is the kind of person where she always wanted to expose me to new things.
Yeah.
So we'd be at a museum, we'd be at a carnival, we'd be at an exposition, and I would take them with me. And they would have not seen those things without my mom and myself.
Yeah.
And so I kind of looked at it as my way to expose them to new things. And I started that at a young age.
And that's good, though. Like, not to cut you off, but like when you get exposed to new things, like for example, I remember one time, like me and Kai, I forgot where we had went for that cruise, but when we came back, like you're just so refreshed and your mindset is just so open to new ideas, new experiences. Because one thing when your eyes are unveiled from your surroundings, you see every day. It's like once you just pop out in this new area, it's like, hey, it's way more to life than what I'm seeing. It's way more that I can do, and that gives you motivation to say, let me try to do something so I can go see more and more things out here. So I love the fact that your mom was like pushing forward to expose you to that, and kudos to you for, hey, let me bring the homies along with me as well.
Please bring the homies with me so I don't have to do it myself. Because my mom was like, she is just every single day, she's go, go, go. And I appreciate that because she wanted me to be well-rounded. And I'm very well-rounded right now. But on the flip side, I'm kind of like on Saturdays and Sundays, I just want to be at home underneath the covers watching Netflix because I've been out too much as a kid. But so born and raised South LA, went to private school, Catholic school, graduated from Immaculate Heart in 1995. Went to San Diego State for 1 year, then went to CSUN and graduated CSUN in 99 with a bachelor's in creative writing.
Oh, you're a writer.
Yes, I'm a writer. And so what led me to that, I really didn't feel like I did anything except for writing as a young person. Like there was nothing that really stood out to me.
Did you try a lot of stuff? And
I tried a lot of stuff, but I didn't like science. I was definitely not good at math.
Same. I can't blame you on that one. I hate
but
that. Was
my
like
mom,
Chinese for me.
She helped me write stuff as a kid, and I was impressed by the way that she helped me write. And so I kind of tapped into that. And now look at her writing. I'm like, whoo, she can't write nothing. But it sparked me to have a love for writing. And so I said, no matter what I do later on, writing is going to be a part of it. So let me just do English as a major. And everybody's like, you're going to do English as a major?
Yeah, that's wild.
How are you going to make any money from that? But I said, every job has to do with writing. So I'm going to just go with that.
That's dope. So, but it sounds like from your childhood being brought up right, you had a good, you had a solid foundation. Like your dad, entrepreneurship, your mom was a teacher. It's like, what 2 best duos could you kind of ask for? Like somebody's feeding me knowledge, and then the other side, they're teaching me real deal hands-on life skills on how to stand on your own, You don't have to work for anybody else to start your own business. So, but once, like you said, your dad passed away, right? That, for some people, that could affect them tremendously, where they might not even be able to bounce back or shake back and do like what you're doing today, or even get to whatever they want to do, right? So how did that affect you mentally when your dad passed at such a young age, and how did you just stay strong and bounce back and keep going to how you was going?
Well, I think when initially it happened, I was very numb to it, and probably just like dove into, because the night that it happened, he had a stroke, an aneurysm. The night before my junior prom, and the night before my mom and his anniversary when they were supposed to go to Vegas.
Damn.
So like everything was leading up to like great things, and then this incident happened, and then I had to still go to prom while he was literally on life support.
Oh man.
It was the next day, so I didn't like have. I had to pretty much turn that off. And I think that kind of like continues on in my life, where I compartmentalize things, where, okay, I can handle a lot of stress and be able to continue on, but tap in like 6 months and I'm a mess.
Yeah.
Because now it all has started to
like catching up with
hit
you
me.
and stuff. Yeah.
So I had to go to prom, act like nothing happened. My mom had to be in the hospital. Like, I didn't know my dad passed until I was literally driving down Crenshaw, and my mom was at the funeral home, which I saw her walking in the funeral home as I'm driving by.
Oh, so nobody having me.
Nobody even told me.
Damn.
Because it was so like within that very couple of days. And she didn't want to tell me. She was just handling her business. I just happened to be driving down when she's walking into the mortuary.
That's crazy. That's ironic.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what was that like? Was you just
I was
spin the
16,
block, turn around,
so
and like?
I was just like, oh, my mom's going into the mortuary, I guess.
Oh, so you thought nothing of it?
No, I thought like, I guess he's not gonna come out of the
okay.
situation.
That is wild.
Yeah.
To be so young and have to experience something like that. So how did you bounce back from? Like, what was your process of healing from that?
So I don't know if I still even have bounced back from it. I always think about my dad. Like, he was such a driving force in not just my life, but like the whole community's life. He was such a big presence. And so I think, if anything, I just took it on upon myself to continue his legacy and just help as many people as I can, and just like dive into it and make him proud. And I know he's like watching over me.
Oh, he proud of you.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for
he's proud
sure.
of you.
And he always poured into me, like whenever he could. Like, you see, so one example, we were right around the corner when the LA riots happened. So right on 57th and Normandy, and the McDonald's that went up, like all of that. And so my dad took me out to like walk the streets to see the night of the LA riots. And me as a young person, I'm like, let's go get some free stuff. Like, that's what we out here. Like, everybody's stealing stuff, like just some free stuff. And my dad, the one thing I remember he said, like, what is the definition of injustice? What do you think the definition of injustice is? Yes, this happened to, what's the guy's name?
George Floyd.
No, this is way before then. Rodney King.
Yeah, I was about
yes,
to say the
this
short guy.
happened to Rodney King.
Yeah.
But what is the injustice now that we're doing to our community? And this is injustice. And this should not be tolerated or celebrated.
Yeah.
And as a young person, I'm like, but what do you mean? Let's go get a TV. And so he always brought me back to the center. And so that just stuck with me throughout my life. That was just one experience, but throughout my life, like he always gave me those nuggets. So moving on, after he passed, it just was an angel on my shoulder, always telling me, like, think about this situation. Yeah, it may seem fun to go get a TV.
Yeah.
But you are literally stealing from your neighborhood store, who now has to rebuild and may never come back again. And we saw that a lot of those shops never came back again. Never came back again.
That's crazy. Like, I couldn't imagine being in the midst of one of those riots. Even like seeing not too long ago the riots kind of out here in Atlanta, but it seemed kind of crazy. But seeing the past like footage of stuff like the LA riot, that would have blew my mind at 16 years old. Not saying, of course, what we were doing out here at 16, but full blown out riot. That's wild. But like, so being with, you said, like, were you with your dad more or your mom more? Like, who you hung around more?
So I hung out with my mom more, but my dad always provided. He was the provider. So it was like, hey, let me give you some money. Hey, let me make sure you're good. Let me get you this. Like my dad provided for everybody. And so I think I take a lot of his persona on and providing for everybody because he always made sure I was good. Like, no worries. I knew my dad had it. If you asked me something, oh, my dad got it. Oh, Mary, you got this. Talk to my dad. Yeah. I was one of those kind of people.
Mary on the block, man. Pops got everything. What you need?
Let
what?
Me call
Hold
my
on, real
dad.
quick.
Hold on. That's how I was. 100%.
So it seems that kind of transferred into your adulthood, right? Seeing as far as what you do now. So take us into the journey of like I say, post college into what you're going into now. So give us the backstory of how you kind of got into PV jobs, even if there was a step before that, right? To give us that whole meat of that area, so you can see why you're just such the giver you are, and just want to be able to help the community in the way you do.
Yes. So it started with the philanthropic nature of my mom and dad, like I said. But after I graduated college, I started my own company. And at a young age, I started a promotional products company. And so I used to sell T-shirts, caps, mugs to large publishing company, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, Baltimore Sun. I used to fly all over to service those clients. I was a young person that had large contracts, and I was making a lot of money. A lot of money. And I loved it because it allowed me to still make people feel good. Yeah. Because we were planning events, we were giving things away, we had all these contests, all these prizes. Like, it was a great feeling.
You getting paid to do what you love, sounding like.
Pay to do what you love. And I was able to sell, which sales to me, if you've never been in sales, you should try sales. Because if you don't sell, you don't eat.
Facts.
You have no rent money. You have no food money. You have nothing if you don't sell anything.
Facts.
So that motivation was put into me as a beginning into my whole career. I started off as an intern, then I went straight into sales. And so once you have that in the back of your head, if I don't sell, I don't eat. That means you're going to get up and make your calls. You're going to answer your calls. You're going to do what you need to do to make sure that you bring those sales in. And I was really good at it. And then the recession hit in 2008, 2009. And my major clients filed Chapter 11, couldn't pay their bills. My mom was paying my rent for 6 months, and I was living in a very plush apartment in Playa Vista. And so it wasn't cheap for her to pay that rent. And so I had to figure something out.
Yeah, ASAP.
But what happened, which was really unique, is I didn't just say, okay, let me just find a job. I said, I'm just going to volunteer. I got all this time. I need to meet some clients. Let me volunteer. And it was very ironic that this happened around Hurricane Katrina. And I was so impacted by what happened in Hurricane Katrina because I moved to a predominantly white area. So I moved from South LA to Playa Vista. Young, black, single mom with a kid who was 6 months old, moved to a predominantly white area.
How was that, though?
It was very welcoming, though, because I had always been in that space because my mom and dad were always doing things outside of our neighborhood. So I was used to going to Lions clubs, meetings, and preparing banquet meetings and all these things for people that didn't look like me. We were always the minorities everywhere we went, everywhere. So to me, it wasn't really that big of a culture shock. But what I said was, look what happened to the people in New Orleans. I'm living right here by the water, tsunami area. If something happens, who do I call? And so I just wanted to get more involved in the community. And so I started looking for ways to get more involved. And one day I walked home and there was a stack of pamphlets that said, apply for neighborhood council, to run for neighborhood council in your community. Your voice needs to be heard, something like that, right?
Type thing.
And I said, let me see what this is about. There was no pay. It was all volunteer. But I called my mom. I was like, Mom, should I run for neighborhood council in Playa Vista and Westchester and Playa del Rey? She was like, Yep, you should. You should. So I called the person on the flyer. Luckily, it was just like a synergy because they needed somebody from Playa Vista to run. Of course, they needed a young African-American single mom to run. I'm like, perfect. I fit like the perfect model person. And so I ran for neighborhood council, and I got connected with all these people in the Chamber of Commerce, the neighborhood council, the city council, the beach and harbors, like so many people I met just for running for neighborhood council.
Yeah.
So most of my days were volunteer hours that I put in. I was still making no money.
I was about to ask. So
my mom was still paying my rent.
Mom was still coming in. All right.
My son was still like, at some point we were on food stamps, but we were still living in Playa Vista, and he was able to like live in a safe area. And then slowly but surely I met enough people to be able to tap into PV Jobs, which is a nonprofit that I'm now the executive director for.
Flowers to you for that. Flowers to you for that.
Thank you. But it was not easy because when I was, during this point, I was still looking for a job. I wasn't just like, oh, let me just be a volunteer. And so as I was looking for jobs, they were all like jobs that I wanted to apply for were like, you need to have programmatic experience. You need to have ran a program. And I'm like, well, I sold promotional products.
Yeah.
That sounds like a program. They were like, no, you do not meet the requirements. You do not meet the requirements. Denied, denied, denied. And so I didn't even know what a program was. I had no idea what a program was at that point. And slowly but surely, I got connected with PV Jobs. In 2009, they hired me and as a sustainability coordinator or a green jobs coordinator. I can't remember what my first position was, but that was 2009, 16 years ago.
Oh, you've been logged in for a long
time. And I've pretty much played every role, been in every position since then until 2019 when they asked me to be the executive director.
What do you think the most difficult part of that journey was to get to director? Like going through those channels, like even though like say you was started out volunteering, then PV Jobs hit you up, they're already a nonprofit, so like, your mindset going in what it was. So what was the most challenging part? Because some people, they may have aspirations to want to get to that point, but it may not be for a nonprofit or not, but a director position is big. Like you got to wear a lot of hats and you're responsible for a lot of people and a lot of things and a lot of moving pieces. So during that process, what do you think was the most difficult part to get there?
So that's an easy answer for me.
You say you remember this?
Easy answer, because in 2016, PV Jobs was about to close. We were about to go under. And we were like, I was not the executive director at that time. There was another executive director. And he was like, we need to find some money. And I knew I was good at writing. And I was like, well, let me write some grants.
Okay.
Let's just see. And so it was so funny because my boss at that time, she wrote a grant and she won the grant. And I was like, if she can write a grant, I know I can write a grant.
Yeah.
Let me just give it a try. I know nothing about grant writing, but I have an English background. And so I said, okay, let me just try it out. So 2016, I wrote a grant. We did not win. 2017, I wrote a grant. We did not win.
Kept it going.
2018, we won 2 grants, $1.5 million each.
Woo.
Since 2018, there's not been a year that we have not won at least $2 million in grants.
Yeah, can you get some air horns real quick on that thing real quick? Turn her up, turn her up, turn her up, my boy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes.
So no, keep going.
But I just said there's got to be something that I can contribute to help us. What is my talent? My talent is writing. How can I help us? And we had not been heavy on grant writing before that. We had a big contract with LACTD, Los Angeles Community College District, a $25 million contract that was like steady money coming in. So we were kind of like cocky, like we don't need to do nothing else. We got this money coming in all day. And then that contract got canceled.
Damn.
And then we had to figure something out.
So how was that like?
That was what happened in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so
what happened.
So what was the resolution? How did you? So was it like just strictly up to you, or you had a team where like this strategized?
So
what we gonna do, y'all? How did y'all do it?
They laid everybody off, and it was me and 2 other people in the whole company. And we just said like, okay, what are we gonna do? And luckily, some grants grant opportunities came down at that point. And my original ED at that point, he said, don't even write those grants because we're so bad right now, they won't even award them to us.
Dang.
And I said, I'm just try and see.
There you
That's
go.
the first 1.5 that we won in 2018.
There you go. So it's like, it's beautiful to see you love to write, and like God do so many things in mysterious ways. He's just led you to a path in your life to where my passion is now turning into millions, not necessarily like millions in my pocket right now, but I'm helping this community with something I love to do. And I'll just hear about grants here and there, but like winning them is kind of difficult, and actually learning how to write them is not even just trying to write one is hard. So for somebody who's listening or watching, right, and they may want to, I know people who are like professional grant writers, like that's all I do. What is the process and the gems and just the keys of writing a good grant to try to win it, outside of just, of course, the opposing decision of whether they want to say yay or nay, but on the writer's end, like what is it that you put into it in the effort to say, hey, this is a good grant and this is potentially a winner right here?
So I think you have to start with trying to solve a problem. That has to be your premise. You have to have a problem that you want to solve, and you can be as creative as you want in how you want to solve the problem, but you have to have a problem you want to solve. A lot of people say, hey, I need some money.
Right.
That's not a problem.
That's what it sounds like. Grant, I just need some money, man, without an explanation.
Unfortunately, and so many people come to me like, Mary, write me a grant. We need some carpet at our church. Yeah, but unfortunately, what problem are you trying to solve?
Yeah.
And you have to think about it in that terms. And your problem has to be a problem that the government wants to solve. The government may not want to solve that the problem is that the carpet is making people trip and fall when they come to church. If that's not their priority, you're not going to be able to find a grant that's out there for you to be even able to write for.
Yeah.
So you have to find first a problem that you want to solve and a problem that someone cares about. The government, a private company, donors, and then you have to follow their guidance. A lot of people just want to paint a very creative picture and say, this is how I would do it, but grants are specifically written a specific way, and you have to follow that way.
So if like I know you file writing grants, right? So if I just ask you a quick question real quick. So this is a scenario, right? My name is Jake Johnson, right?
Yep, Jake Johnson.
And what Jake Johnson wanted to do, right?
I'm probably not going to fund you already, Jake Johnson, but go ahead.
So what Jake Johnson want to do, right? Jake Johnson has a landscaping company, right? And Jake Johnson's vision is to restore parks and old, I guess, basketball courts in the hood of downtown LA. What would be your pointers to Jake Johnson to try to get approved for that $1 million grant with the city of LA?
So my first thing would be Jake Johnson. That's a great mission to restore the parks in the city of LA. Are there any RFPs, which is...
I was about to ask, what's an RCP for us who
a
don't?
request for funding proposal, or FOAs, a funding opportunity announcement for restoring the parks in LA. We cannot write a grant based on our passion. We have to write a grant in response to what funds are available. Understood. So if the city says we want to renew all the parks in LA, then yes, Jake Johnson, write your grant all day. But if there are no grants out for restoring the parks, do not write that grant. Find a grant to do sidewalk repair, to do something else that is out and available. And so that's what a lot of people don't really understand. They think you can just have a great idea and write a grant. You have to respond to a funding announcement, which means this money has been allocated for this use, which happens first. You need to find how your nonprofit aligns with the upcoming funding announcements. So PV Jobs, we do a lot of different things. And we know that a lot of the funding announcements are to help people find jobs.
Yeah.
So I can write a grant for a youngster to find a job, and a veteran to find a job, a woman to find a job, a reentry person to find a
So
job
you got the
all
option.
day.
Yeah, they
all
there.
day. But if I just want to say, let's just redo this park right now,
Yeah.
there's probably not going to be any grant that I can respond to. So I'm not going to be able to write it and not going to get any money for it.
They make it seem
Call and
so
response.
easy.
I know.
Yeah.
They think the whole nonprofit world is so easy. Everybody, and can we just talk about that real quick?
No, we can talk, because that's a name. I'm not going to say their name, but it's a specific person. Like, when they're promoting their grant writing services, how they like propose to just like, whatever your idea is, come join my course, come join my course, $500 a month, I help you write your grant, and we got this, we gonna already raise up $1 million of grant, so just whatever you're doing, I got you gonna get it. At least you write 4 or 5 grants. So like, for what you saying, it doesn't seem like it's just that simple at all.
It's not that simple. What you could do is, yes, you can write a grant and then try to find somebody to fund it. But that takes a lot of time.
Versus going to what you know
is already
the bag
being
is in
funded.
there, let's go get, okay,
and
yeah.
they have the money here. This is the money for this. This is the money for that. And you can tweak what you're doing. So what was his name?
Who?
James Johnson.
Oh, Jake Johnson.
Jake Johnson. Okay, so let's say Jake Johnson wants to do this and rebuild the parks, right? He can tweak his grant to say, I'm going to create a workforce development program where I'm going to teach individuals how to cultivate, how to do architecture, landscape, all of that. And in the final product will be, they will rebuild these parks.
And that's free game she's really gay right now. I hope everybody listens, so pay attention.
Yes, that's how we can tweak it. But you need to be, if you're first starting off, you have to be responding to available funding opportunities. And you can find those on grants.gov. You can find them with your state. So we're in California. So the state of California funds several different programs. The city funds several different programs. The county funds several different programs. We have private donors that have actually seen us on TV and came to us and said, we want to fund whatever you want us to fund. But that doesn't happen right away. That's 25 years of doing what we do, and then they come to you for that.
That's great. So with PB Jobs specifically, right? So break down like the processes that goes on with inside PB Jobs, and like some of the things you guys offer, the courses you offer, the programs, so people can get a real scope of the work that y'all are really doing out here. Because like when Kai introduced me to it, when I seen it, I was like, man, I mean, I guarantee you probably do have kind of a version of that somewhere in the city here in Atlanta, but I never like did my research to look. But when he told me, like, it's just dope to see because a lot of people, they may not be just evil or bad. Some people just really either in the wrong place at the wrong time or just have made just that one bad decision that they thought, it wasn't too bad. But on the flip side, it got you jammed up for a long time. And now you're out here trying to find your way back in society, but people are looking at you through a lens of a monster or whatever you may be labeled as because of that document. So what does PV Jobs specifically do, like inside of them? What do you guys offer, and how do you guys help the community?
Yeah, so before I answer that, I just want to say, like, a lot of us have done things that we did not get caught for.
Facts. That's big facts.
And so I always start with that, like, I don't ever put myself in a situation, because I have no justice system involvement. Does that mean I never did anything bad?
Nope, not at all.
I just didn't get caught for the stuff that I did bad.
Get enough not to get
and
caught.
And that does not make me better than anybody else. That just makes me human. And so I always start with that, knowing that we all make decisions. And at the end of the day, I don't say if they're good or bad. They just got us to this next level where we need to make another decision.
Facts.
And so PV Jobs was started way before I came to PV Jobs. So I can't take credit for the original mission. But what I do take credit for is being able to expand the mission.
Facts.
Like, we started out as strictly working with heavily gang-involved individuals that had no other opportunities for any type of work to be able to get placed in a union position on the Playa Vista project. And that's what we started in 1998. So they were pulling from all the gang members in the local area. So Venice Shoreline, all the Santa Monica gangs, all the West Side gangs, which people were like, West Side gangs? But they were like doing some real work at that time, shootings and everything. And so that's how PV Jobs got started. Bringing the gang members in and saying you don't have to only have this gang life as an option. You can be a journeyman cement mason. You can be an electrician. You can be a carpenter. You can be a laborer and make a ton of money and have Ford F-150s and a house
Sitting up
and, have Harleys and everything you need legitimately.
Yeah.
And so that is our history. But when I came on, as we started writing these grants, the grants were very heavily leaning towards the younger population and the preventative population. So the grants that we normally were getting were for any age range, but now they're talking about 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 18-year-olds. They're not interested in construction.
Yeah, they still
they are not trying to do that. So we had to expand from just our construction pathway to bring other pathways in. And that's how we really tapped into the media pathway and said, we're going to meet our young people where they are. Yep. They're on social media. They're on YouTube. They're on TikTok. They're on Instagram, all of that. Let's find a way to tap into those talents and give them a platform to tell their stories, to be able to learn how to create these different videos, to edit their own videos, film their own videos, do all the sound, everything on their own. And so we started writing specific grants for that population. And we just won our most recent Youth Build grant. And we have a media pathway. It's a $1.5 million grant.
Can we get some more air horns for that real quick? They doing big things. Yes, sir.
We just got awarded in June of this year. And part of our pathways are in order to help young people get into the media pathway and to specifically get into podcasting.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. So what is the process like? So say if like your LA fans gonna be watching, right, and somebody sees this, like, what is the qualifications like from start till graduation? So what is that for them? And also just give them all the options you have for them to choose from.
So we have so many pathways. If someone's interested in construction and has never gone to school ever, like just coming back from prison, we have a pathway for them. If someone is a 13-year-old who's at a LAUSD school and wants to get into podcasting, we have a pathway for them.
I know you went that
We
young.
are so diverse that it's almost too much to handle.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have to be diverse because we want to make sure that we don't create a situation where we have all these great things, but nobody wants to access them.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we're accessible. And we are accessible at every entry point from 12 years old and up. And I make sure
beautiful.
I write grants to tap into all those different populations. And they all have different requirements. Justice system involvement for some of them. Some of them you don't have to be justice system involved. Perfect example, we got it's almost $3 million now from a private family that saw us when we were highlighted for the Super Bowl a couple of years ago they had in LA. And they came and met with me. And I told them, look, we have all these grants for justice system involved people. But I have people coming to me saying, do I need to go commit a crime and then come back to get in your training program?
That's crazy.
And so he said, here's $1 million to help people that don't have any justice system involvement. And then the next year he gave me another $700,000. And then the next year, which is coming up right now, he's giving me another $700,000. So almost $300,000 to help folks. So once you start the machine,
the ball just keep rolling.
you then
like snowball
can,
effect. Yeah.
yes, make your own. But you got to start with what's out there and available.
And like I say, because when you guys, this is maybe the third time I've seen y'all come out here just personally, but when y'all bring so many people from so many backgrounds, like I say, a lot of them are affiliated with gangs. A lot of them have been in jail for a long periods of times. But from the outside looking in, you'll probably judge a book by its cover. But from personally meeting these people, like, they're beautiful people with beautiful souls. They're real people who just made those small mistakes. But once you meet them in person, like, they want to do better. They out here striving to do great things. But that's why you always got to try to just extend grace and also to receive grace from people. Because you never know, some of the decisions that they may have made could have been choices. Like, they had no choice but to go that route. Yeah, like the whole I'm a product of my environment thing. In some cases, is just a real deal thing.
It is real.
Parents are gone, your mom, dad at the house, maybe raised by grandma.
And
She's too old
eat.
to tell you what to do. Right.
And you got to eat.
Yeah, so it's like what y'all doing is giving people faith, belief, and an outlet to say, hey, my life is not done yet.
Yes.
I see all these other people going through PB jobs, graduating, may have learned something for a trade and getting a job placement. Like, that's going to motivate me to leave the streets alone, leave these gangs alone, and come in here and do it. It may be tough because a lot of people are like embedded into it for a long, long, long time, but it's good to see that y'all do have a program sitting out there for people to just come to and flock to just make a better version of themselves. But what I want to ask you is, right, because you know that it may be convicted felons or whoever may they be, how did you get acclimated and comfortable being around those type of situations? Because some people may not just be as comfortable saying, hey, homie over here may have robbed somebody just last year. He got out, now he here, but I'm scared for my life. My car's here, parked here. So how did you just get comfortable sitting in that seat?
It was my family.
Yeah.
I was born and raised on 57th and Normandy.
Yeah.
Like, I was my mom's only child, but my dad had other children, and they were all involved with the justice system. They were always involved with the justice system. And so my dad was that neighborhood hero who like took everybody in.
Oh, so you had
And
that,
then my mom was the one, once he took them in, she was exposing them to new things. So I'm really just a product of the two of them coming together, where I have that comfort level where I'm not put off by them. And then I have that, if I can expose them to something different, that exposure is going to open their minds. And we've seen it time and time again. Like when Kai and I took the last group of students that we took to InvestFest, they did a recap. And during the recap, they said, I've been fighting, literally fighting, knuckles bleeding fighting for this little, excuse my French, shitty ass strip of land that I don't even own in LA. And now I'd have been to Atlanta to see all this beautiful land. Why am I fighting for this?
Yeah.
If I'm going to fight for something, let me fight, number one, for something I own.
Yeah.
And number two, for something that's beautiful and peaceful and that's not roach-ridden, rat-ridden, tagging everywhere. Once you expose them to that, they don't ever want to go back to that same mentality.
That sounds like mission complete to me for what y'all doing. When you get that response, mission complete. Whether it's one person, two person, or three, that one response said, yeah, we got to keep this going because it's making a change and you seeing it firsthand.
Yes.
So that's beautiful. So just with all that, right, what do you think is your favorite pathway that y'all have right now? What's your favorite one?
Oh, 100% the podcast pathway.
Why so?
100%. This has been the piece that has really kept me with PB Jobs right now because I'm 15 years in.
Yeah.
I probably should have moved on at this point and passed the torch to someone else. And my board probably was like, I thought we were a construction nonprofit.
Yeah.
Now we're doing all this other stuff. But this has allowed us, because what I saw, a trend happening, over the years, we were losing our African-American youth. And we were only seeing Latino Americans coming in our doors. Year after year, the numbers just kept decreasing on African-American youth. And I just could not continue to allow that to happen. Number one, I'm an African-American. Number two, I know if we don't have them here, they are going to be out there doing bad stuff. So how do I get them back in? And the podcasting and the media was the pathway, and the cannabis. The cannabis. Let's not even forget. Let's not brush over that. The cannabis pathway was the real pathway that brought them in. And now the numbers are going back to 50-50, which they were not 50-50 a couple of years ago.
So you did your job. How do you market it? Well, I don't know if you do it like yourself, but so how is this marketed to people to know to get involved outside of maybe ads or being when they come out of the jails, like the program they're going through? So how is this really pushed out to the community?
We need to do better marketing. I mean, all nonprofits, not all nonprofits, but most nonprofits have that challenge with marketing because you have limited funds. You have to do a lot with a little.
Yeah.
And so we have certain partners that we work with who work very closely with LA County Probation, work very, very closely with LA, Los Angeles County Office of Education, LACO. We have a lot of partners that we have MOUs with. But if we could do anything that I feel we're not doing is get the word out more to let folks know that these programs exist, that there are opportunities out there. I hear a lot, oh, if I only knew this, if I only knew that. And I feel like if we did a better job of letting people know that these opportunities available, I don't think a lot of people know that a nonprofit has a cannabis pathway.
And that's wild, man.
Let me just say that.
Yeah.
And if more people knew that they could start a legitimate, legal cannabis business and they can learn this from a nonprofit, I think more people would be coming to us and not doing the things that they're doing. Yeah.
So let me sign up now.
Yes. Where do I sign up?
For like most businesses, nonprofit, awareness is always an issue, especially when you're doing business and you're doing it good and you're doing it well. Yes. It's like when you see the traction coming in, the last thing in your mind may be, oh, let's push this more because you see like it's working. But again, there's like never too much awareness you can have, especially if you're doing something like this. You want to get that word out. You want people to, like you say, be flocking to your door. So creating pathways that's really attractive to, like you say, like you doing your research. You know this area, oh, they gonna love this. Like so, keep doing that for sure. But just being thought forward and thought focused is how I feel everybody should be thinking right now, especially for our youth. Because right now, a lot of youth is just lost in the sauce. Like I don't know what it's gonna take to help bring them back, but it's in different times now, different days. But just to know that if they do get incarcerated, if they do make the wrong path, at least, like I said, I know in Georgia, I guarantee you something of that nature, but in LA specifically, they have somewhere to run to change their life and save their life. And they have people there like you and Kai and the whole team who really cares about them.
Yes.
And who is bringing a group of 15 to 20 people to the other coast of the country to come and learn and get this insight from other black people that may look like them or Latino, white, whatever it may be, but you're seeing your kind thriving in a different lens, in a different area of the country. So again, just more kudos and flowers to y'all for what y'all doing, because I don't see much of that, especially people caring for somebody who's been incarcerated. That's just, I don't see it a lot. So I want to commend y'all for that. So, but with PB Jobs, like what do you think the next pathway is, or what's next with PB Jobs for y'all?
So I think just listening to you say those last couple of phrases, I really feel like the preventative side is where we're moving towards. We don't want to wait until they've been involved with the justice system for them to come to us. We want to tap into the preventative side and really start working with them while they're still in high school, so they know, like, hey, I don't even have to go down this path.
Right.
I can start a podcast at 15. I can start a clothing brand at 15. We met somebody in Vest Fest today who has started his own business at 15 because his dad was an entrepreneur and his uncle was an entrepreneur. So I think that's what we really want to do, is be able to look at how we can reduce the numbers from even going into the justice system. And if we start these types of pathways early, I think that will make a big difference.
You got to get them while they're young.
Got to get them while they're young and tap into what they're interested in.
Streets of catch them up quick. Like I know when I was a kid, like nonetheless, I grew up with struggle, nonetheless, but in my household, because we were just so much without, I had to help pay the bills and having that feeling of when I go to work, get my check, come home, Pop's like, hey, can you help pay my phone bill? Can you help get some groceries in the crib? But that led me to not want to be in the house, which pushed me outside of the house, which pushed me at a young age to get into the drugs, to being around the gangs and all this stuff. It was just like, man, the stress was so much as a kid. I want to find a different outlet to run to, but unfortunately, my environment in Decatur was just like, it was rough growing up back then. So, but to me, that was normal. I'm just outside. But on the flip side, seeing it's like, man, you could have really ended up in a whole different path.
What if somebody had introduced you to video editing at that age?
Exactly.
Just that one thing, and you could go out and be like, hey, I'm going to shoot some video for you, and I'm going to edit it and give you a little clip. And I can charge you $50 for it. That would have been your little money that you could bring in. Here, Pops, here's your money. And I'm still doing my shit on the side.
Facts. It's like, so that's what we need.
It's just that little tweak. It doesn't even take a lot. It takes just that little tweak. And so we want to be that little tweak, but the right tweak.
Oh, y'all are the tweak. And again, what I see is going on, y'all got it going. But so for you as an individual, right, it seems like you're doing a lot at PB Jobs. Well, I can't even say a lot, but your position holds a lot of weight. So once you leave that building and you go home and it's like, all right, this is married time, this and that. What does that look like for you as far as like relaxing and releasing? Because I know that plays a lot in your mental. You're dealing with all these people, all these pathways, this, and that. So when it comes to marriage, personal time, that's be used to that self-care process, that meditation, that mental side, what is that for you to just decompress and just to get back to you and fill your cup back up 100%?
Vacations and Long Island.
I see all the vacations. You be gone, man.
Oh, I have to get out of town.
Yeah.
I have to unplug and just go somewhere for 3-4 days to just be able to woosah.
Yeah.
And be able to not have all of this coming at me. Because it's a lot. It is a lot. But I love it so much and I take it on so wholeheartedly that even when I do unplug, I still like, okay, let me check this email.
Yeah, it's hard not to do that.
Let me check my voicemail real quick. But yes, going on vacation has been like one of my therapeutic things that I've been doing, and solo vacations more than going with anybody else.
Yeah. See, I haven't hit that one. I've been like solo outings, like in the city or somewhere. I love that, but the whole vacation, I ain't crossed that path yet.
I've done, I think, 1, 2, 3 solo vacations this year. The best vacation.
Oh, you out here.
Oh my gosh. I went to Mexico twice solo. And I went to Canada once solo.
Canada's a beautiful place. I can bet you enjoy that.
The best ones. And I took my mom and my son places. I took my booze places, went with my booze places. But
you put an S on the end of that.
Yeah, I had several booze in this year.
I heard an S on that one. Yeah, I ain't married.
This year. I'm just saying. Like, you told me to be honest here, right?
deal with that.
Yeah, but the solo vacations, you can go to spas, you can just watch TV, you can just plan your day, what you want to do, what you want to eat, when you want to eat it. Just amazing. So solo vacations has been like one of my most rewarding therapeutic ways that I've been able to like. So
if it wasn't vacay, what would it be for you?
If it wasn't vacay?
You have to dig deep and find something for that one, huh?
Well, I live in a beautiful apartment building that has a pool and all these great things. So probably just like taking that same time, not away, but just in my own space. Yeah.
I always feel like it's good to have a space you can go to decompress. It's like not necessarily at home, but kind of close to home base, just because it's like it's less costly, whatever it may be. You can just get there ASAP. Yeah. Hey, I'm going through this fuss of the day. Let me go to this room or just this spot over here. And like for me, if I'm having a rough day, week, month, it's a spot I go to all the time on the lake. It's a pier, and I can just sit there for hours and just decompress. Just listen, look at the water, listen to the nature sounds, and read a book. And that's how I get my self relief. If I go to the lake, it's bad.
It's bad.
Yeah. If I'm out there, it's bad. But other than that, it just be either sometimes meditation, like walk 2 miles a day every day just to clear my mind doing that, or just either praying, doing that, or just real deal. I need my space. It may seem rude to some people, but I'm the type of person to where if I want to recharge, it's hard to do that when I'm still being pulled from left and right. Like, how can I fill my cup up and give you 100% if I'm not there myself? So I feel like it's important to just don't stretch yourself thin at all in life, right? So it's, again, kudos to you for everything you're doing. One, you're taking care of yourself, taking care of family, taking care of business for sure.
Yes.
And everybody up there at PB Jobs. So let me ask you this, right? If you could, right, for that either young man, young woman, old woman, whoever it may be, and let's just say 2 scenarios. They may want to be a director of a company or a professional grant writer or just somebody of something and some substance, right? So what advice or what motivation would you give them? And then after that, if you can remember this question as well, for people specifically in LA, what would you give advice to the youth to try to help them, guide them out of the streets, or if they are, to PV Jobs? And you can I want you to tap into your people and let them know.
So I think to answer the first question, and what helped me the most was volunteering. Just get out and volunteer. Because if I did not volunteer, I at one point considered myself a professional volunteer. Like, my job every day was volunteering. And I learned so much during that 2 years of my life where it didn't pay me anything, but I met so many people that helped me move me to the next level. And we have to have mentors in our life. We're trying to do this on our own. We're going to just be spinning our wheels. We have to surround ourselves with positive people who have done it before, who can give us the roadmap. The quicker you get the roadmap, the quicker you're able to get to where you need to be. And sometimes they don't give you the roadmap, they just give you access. And access, roadmaps, mentorship, those are the things that are going to get us to the next level. But sometimes we are so invested in the immediate gratification and wanting something from it, but we have to give of ourselves first. And I feel once you give of yourself, good things will continue to happen. And if you get in that mode of, I'm doing this podcast today, not to shine light on Mary Taylor, but to shine on the light that Reentry Network Podcast is doing, that PV Jobs is doing, that Canon Business 101 is doing, good things are going to come from it. So I think just being selfless, volunteering, putting ourselves out there, being uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable. I was the only Black person out of all these older white people in Playa Vista, Playa del Rey, and Westchester. But they took me in and they embraced me and they loved me. And I knew then, like, okay, I have something to offer to everybody. And so that just encouraged me to not be scared to talk to different people. Once you start talking to different people, you hear different things. So I will say that as far as what I would recommend for people to do. Volunteer. Yeah. Volunteers out of your normal area and just get engaged and good things will happen. And then to get connected with PV Jobs, I wish we were in every state. That's my goal, is to get PV Jobs in every single state. But there are nonprofits, there are work source centers that are in every single state, American Job Centers. Please reach out to them. They have all of these resources. The things that PV Jobs is doing, we may have a unique way of doing it, but these resources are all out there and available because the federal grants are available to all 50 states. So reach out to your work source centers, reach out to your nonprofits. You'll be surprised as what you can get as far as support. Veterans, youth, reentry, dislocated workers, single moms, they have funding for pretty much every population.
You just gave a whole lot of information, right? Now, just to recap, just what I got from this podcast is just that you got to be resilient. You got to have a good heart. You got to have a good mindset and follow your heart and your passion for what you really want to do. It'll take you a long way. And also care for people, bottom line. Like, don't put the money first. That's going to follow it. Do what your heart tells you to do and just serve at the end of the day. So, But once again, I just want to say congratulate y'all for what I got going on out there in LA with the whole PV Jobs, Reentry Network Podcast. Every show that's popping on the podcast. Y'all turning it up right now, man.
Salute y'all for that. All new podcasters. We're so excited about it. Like, tune in. You guys will not be ready for what we're about to bring you.
Oh, yeah. So I'm living out of progress. But again, Mary, we're going to wrap it up, right? So I just want to thank you for coming out. I know y'all had a busy weekend, but y'all took the time out to come out here, do this podcast. Shout out to my boy Kyle for setting everything up, man. He's been a real big connector from the A to LA. I say ATLA connection going on, man. Shout out to everybody out there on the Reentry Network Podcast. Again, it's Inherited Podcast. I'm your host, Sir Gates. Make sure you tune into the podcast every week. You can find it on YouTube and Instagram at Inherited Podcast, NHERTD Podcast. You can find me on IG at Sir Gates BC, SIRGATESBC. And how can they find you, Mary?
So they can find me only on one spot. I'm only on Instagram.
You there, though.
And I'm
they can
still a
find you
newbie
there.
to Instagram. Yeah. So Mary is so contrary. That's my IG. I only have 520 followers. I'm trying to get to at least 600 before I leave InvestFest.
Okay,
so that's my goal.
Let's do it.
Give me the 600 people, please.
We're going to run Mary up, man. And make sure y'all follow Reentry Network Podcast, too, at Reentry Network Podcast. Y'all got to tap in and lock into that podcast, too.
That's what I was going to say. Reentry Network Podcast, PV Jobs LA. Those are the main areas we want you guys to tap in. But my personal is Mary is so contrary.
Yes, sir. So again, man, this is Inherited Podcast. I am your host, Sir Gates. We had a good combo tonight, man. So until next time, make sure y'all come back and tune in. We out. That was a good one. Love it. Yeah.